Welcome. I know this is the day you've all been waiting for. Back to work. Welcome back to the fall semester. And welcome to this 2012 faculty convocation. It's great to see you all there. I hope you've had a wonderful summer. Restful summer, maybe a productive summer, or productive and not restful. But it's great to have you return and to start to feel the energy and anticipation, enthusiasm that we see in our hallways with the faculty returning, and the students will be fast on your heels here next week. It doesn't slowly crank up, it just all of a sudden appears on us, and we have thousands of students in our hallways. So again, welcome to this new year. It's great to have you here. Appreciate all that you do. I do want to recognize and welcome our adjunct faculty this morning. We have invited them, I guess, in person for the first time. They were able to see this streamed, but we've invited them to be in attendance. Can we have the adjunct faculty stand? Those of you who are adjunct faculty, let's just thank you. Thank you so very much. We very much appreciate our adjunct faculty and the important role that they play in helping our students achieve their educational objectives and bringing their expertise and experience into the classroom and helping us achieve our mission. To begin, I'd like to make a few introductions, if you don't mind, and be with me for a few minutes. Many of you, particularly our new faculty, don't know these individuals, our adjuncts, and so I would like to acknowledge and recognize a number of individuals who are here today. First of all, from the President's Cabinet, we have our good President, Matthew Holland, who is here. Val Peterson, who is the Vice President of Administration and Finance. Val, if you would just stand so some of the people can recognize you. Corey Duckworth, Vice President of Student Affairs. And Mark Archambault, Vice President of Development and Alumni. The money man. He hates that. Linda Macon, our Executive Director of Budgets and Planning. Chris Taylor, who is our Interim Vice President for University Relations. Kyle Reyes, the Assistant to the President. Dr. Kyle Reyes. I can't resist that. And Karen Olson, who is the Executive Secretary to the President. We very much appreciate them and appreciate their attendance. I'd like to introduce our deans. Ernie Carey, Dean of the College of Technology and Computing. Ernie, if you would stand. There you are. Neil Daly, Dean of the School of Arts. And Brian Farnsworth, Dean of the School of Education. Brian is somewhere here. There we are. Stand up, Brian. Oh, you did stand up. Sam Rushforth, Dean of the College of Science and Health. Sam, are you here? Okay. K.D. Taylor, Dean of the University College. And no longer interim, I might say. We're pleased to have her full-time. David Yells, who is the Dean of College of Humanities and Social Sciences. Always trying to get the spotlight. I don't know what else to say about that. There's something about that college. And Norm Wright, Dean of the Woodbury School of Business. Never wanting to be upstaged by any of the other colleges or schools, I might say. This past spring, the Board of Regents approved our proposal to divide the College of Technology and Computing to form a new College of Aviation and Public Services. This new college includes aviation, emergency services, criminal justice, Fire Science, the Utah Fire and Rescue Academy, the Police Academy, and the Institute for Emergency Services and Homeland Security. And I would like to introduce Dr. Dornan, if you would stand just for a minute. Dr. Wayne Dornan is the new dean of this new college, and he comes from We're very pleased to have him. He comes from Middle Tennessee State University, where he was the chair of the Aerospace Department. He has a master's degree and PhD in neuropsychology from Memorial University in St. John's, Newfoundland. You may want to ask him how he ended up in aviation, but we certainly need his talent in the aviation area. His research involves the interaction of human factors in flight training and in automated aircraft and issues related to fatigue in aviation. He has published over 50 scholarly publications, has made more than 100 national and international professional research presentations at conferences, and so we're very, very pleased to have Dr. Dornan with us. Thank you. And from my Office of Academic Affairs, Brian Birch, who is our Associate Vice President for Engaged Learning. Brian. Dr. Maureen Andrade, who is the Associate Vice President for Academic Programs and just joined us in July. We're very pleased to have her on our staff. And Dr. Catherine, i.e. Kat Brown, who is the Assistant Vice President for Administration. And before I go any further, I would just like to thank Kat Brown and Karen Cushing and my staff for putting this faculty convocation together and just doing a wonderful job. So please give them a round of applause. Thank you so very, very much. I'd also like to acknowledge directors from the Division of Student Affairs who are joining us this morning. I asked them to participate with us, to be a part of this program. We have a close working relationship with Student Affairs, together working to build an environment that is conducive to student learning and student development and student completion. We're so very pleased to have them here. Would the directors and people from Student Affairs please stand so we can see you and know you? Many faces are familiar. We're very pleased to have all of you here today. Thank you so very much. And last but not least are our new faculty. And we have hired this year over 70 faculty across the university in a variety of colleges and schools. And I'd like to have them just stand, and I'll quickly go through what colleges and schools they're from. So for those in our new College of Aviation Public Services, would you please stand, our new faculty? All right, they're out in the air. From the College of Humanities and Social Sciences, would you please stand, our new faculty? All right, we have a couple over there. From the College of Science and Health, our new faculty. There we are. Thank you. And from the College of Technology and Computing, new faculty. Thank you for joining us. And from School of the Arts. Okay, thank you very, very much. School of Education. We have new faculty. Thank you. And University College, our new faculty. A lot of these faculty in University College are going to be helping us with our new structured enrollment program that we are instituting. And from the Woodbury School of Business, our new faculty. Thank you very, very much. So as you can see, we have a large group of new faculty throughout the institution. Please make them feel welcome and comfortable, and mentor them and help them make the adjustment to their new work in this new semester. I would now like to turn the time over to Dr. David Connolly, our new Faculty Senate President. David?
Some breaking news out this morning. The Princeton Review new rankings are out, just so that you know that. It's nothing like that to signify that the fall is here. Meaningless statistics have been reported. So I appreciate that. Just a few thoughts today. A couple months ago, I realized I was going to have to say something here. So as Faculty Senate President, I ran out and grabbed all the new policies that are out there and all the new exciting stuff that we'd be doing, and realized that you don't care. And so I won't list those off for you. I figured I could have ridden in on a unicorn spreading pixie dust, and that wouldn't have changed much with that. But if you do get bored, there are several policies out there you might want to look at. So naturally, I turn to what I do best, which is organizational structure. And so I figured I'll talk to you and wax eloquent on the structure of senates and the role of the Senate. I shared that with a couple of people and they fell asleep, so I won't be doing that today as well. So here's what I landed on. I decided to let some students talk to you just a little bit today, and I suppose it is waxing a little eloquent, so I apologize for that. But 50 years ago, a group of students got together, some 21 and 22-year-olds. They got together in Michigan at Port Huron. So some of you are familiar with what they did, the Port Huron Statement. That is an inherently political document. I don't share it today for its political purposes. It is 25,000 words, so I will be reading all of it to you today. So sit back. No, I'm just kidding. Maybe a paragraph or two is all. But I thought these students had something that resonated as I reread that again, and something that I think resonates with the students that we encounter each fall as they walk in here. And wanted to just share a few of those words with you. Again, remember, this is 1962. This is before the 60s that some of you know. Many of us have looked at, right? This is before the escalation of Vietnam. This is before all of the assassinations that would rock that decade and move forward from there as well. The language of the document, as the authors have said many times, was not as inclusive as they would have liked it, but I'll leave it in its original form. So here's a few thoughts from that. The opening sentence. We are people of this generation, bred in at least modest comfort, housed now in universities, looking uncomfortably to the world we inherit. Remember, these are 22-year-olds. We regard men as infinitely precious and possessed of unfulfilled capacities for reason, freedom, and love. We oppose, too, the doctrine of human incompetence because it rests essentially on the modern fact that men have been competently manipulated into incompetence. We see little reason why men cannot meet with increasing skill the complexities and responsibilities of their situation. Men have unrealized potential for self-cultivation, self-direction, self-understanding, and creativity. It is this potential we regard as crucial and to what we appeal. The goal of man and society should be human independence, a concern not with image of popularity, but with finding a meaning in life that is personally authentic, a quality of mind not compulsively driven by a sense of powerlessness, nor one which unthinkingly adopts status values, one which openly faces problems which are troubling and unresolved, one with an intuitive awareness of possibilities, an active sense of curiosity, and ability and willingness to learn. Tragically, the university could serve as a significant source of social criticism and as an initiator of new modes and molders of attitudes. But in the actual intellectual effect of the college experience is hardly distinguishable from that of any other communications channel, say a television set. Passing on the stock truths of the day, students leave college somewhat more tolerant than when they arrived, but basically unchallenged in their values and political orientations. The last sentence, so I've skipped now 24,000 words. If we appear to seek the unattainable, it has been said, then let it be known that we do so to avoid the unimaginable. As I put that together and I was thinking about that, I thought, well, is somebody going to interpret this as I think that the university fails, and in particular UVU? Nothing could be further from the truth. I believe so wholeheartedly in the university that I'm enough of a loser that when I drive onto this campus each morning, I get excited. My children tell me that I need to do something else with my life as a result of that. Nothing should be that exciting. I love the place that I work. I thrill at the opportunity to interact with colleagues that challenge me on a daily basis. I love to watch new students walk in. What I do know, though, as well, I hope, is that all of us can push just a little harder. All of us can inspire just a little bit more. All of us can challenge students just a little bit more. Sometimes the things that I suppose get in the way of that are personal, and there's nothing that anyone in this room could do about that. They are what they are. Life gets in the way. But occasionally, I think, sometimes we get in the way. Sometimes institutional norms and values and policies and procedures might just get in the way. So what I'd throw out to you today is this plea. If there is anything that gets in your way that the Faculty Senate can help with, that we might be able to discuss, we do discuss things endlessly, by the way, if you want to show up. It's Tuesday afternoons from 3 to 5. There's nothing more exciting than a 3 to 5 meeting on a Tuesday. But if there's something we might be able to do to get something out of your way to allow you to pursue the dreams that brought you to this, because I don't think money brought you to this. Well, unless you're in the business school, right? Anyways, yeah. But I don't think money brought you to this. Some other passion brought you to what you're doing here. Let us see if we can't help. Please let us do that. We need to hear from you. Stop me in the hallway. Harass me. Harass your senators. Get involved a little bit. Let us see if we can't just push UVU just that little much further. Because those students that are going to walk through the door here in 4 or 5 days, they have all kinds of expectations. But just as it says here, they're looking uncomfortably to a world they inherit. Maybe we can help them change that a little bit and move forward. Have a great fall. Have a great spring. Do something incredible. Enjoy yourself. I appreciate the opportunity to rub shoulders with you. I am grateful for every opportunity I have to come here each day. And I'll just leave you that. Thanks.
Thank you, David, very much. We have an exciting year ahead of us. I'm looking forward to working closely with David and the Faculty Senate. And I just want to emphasize what he said. For you new faculty, every department has at least one Faculty Senate representative. And you need to get to know that individual. You need to, and as departments, have that individual report on events and activities in Faculty Senate, share ideas. We do have policies that are going to be on the table this year. And it is important that we hear from all of you and that you participate or involved in this process of helping us to move forward and to govern the university. So thank you, David, very much. The United States faces a number of challenges today, as most countries do. Two of them that are interconnected and interwoven, at least in my mind, is the economy and higher education. Just to give you a few statistics, the unemployment rate remains nationally at 8.3%. Fortunately, in Utah, we're at 6%. We certainly are doing better. 2012 second quarter GDP is rather anemic, 1.5%. The national debt is over $15 trillion, which amounts to about $50,000 per person. I hope you're saving for that eventuality. But another concern faces us perhaps more directly, and that is the shortage of skilled labor in the United States to keep up with industry demands and economic growth. A McKinsey & Company study of education made this statement: the United States needs to produce roughly 1 million more graduates a year by 2020. That's about 40% more than we are today, to ensure that the country has the skilled workers that it needs. Even closer to home in Utah, the Georgetown University Center for Education and the Workforce states that by 2018, 66% of all jobs in Utah will require a post-secondary degree. These are some concerns, some challenges that we face that in higher education we're involved in and can do something about. I want to take just a brief look at the state of education within Utah. Only 43% of Utahns hold an associate degree or higher. We used to be among the top states in the country for educated, university degreed individuals. This is no longer true, and we've lost that advantage that we've had in years past. While high school graduation rate is 88%, only 44% of high school graduates go on to college within 1 year. This is about 36% of the 19-year-old population in the state. Perhaps LDS missions play some role here, but I think that's not the whole story. There are other factors in play. Of concern to us at UVU, Utah is last in the country in terms of the percentage of female students enrolled in post-secondary institutions. The national average is 57%, Utah is 49%, and UVU is 43%. The Utah percentage of baccalaureate degrees awarded to women is 47%, which is the lowest in the 50 states. Our own faculty member, Professor Susan Matson, has been working on this issue for the past 2 or 3 years and gathering data and research, and is working now with our Commissioner's Office and regions to address this particular problem and to help us develop strategies to do a better job of getting our women into university, into college, and to graduate. I might mention, as you can see by the national average, that it's the reverse. Nationally, the real challenge is getting our young men into university, and it's becoming a serious crisis and problem. We need to work to get both our young men and our young women into university and to graduate. In 2008, nearly 370,000 Utahns had completed some college without earning a degree. That just seems like a tragedy that they would put time and effort into coming to university, going to college, and not walking away with a degree. In 2009, over 24% of high school graduates did not meet the college readiness benchmark for English, math, reading, and science. And so we have a problem in terms of preparation. Only 29% of UVU's first-time, full-time freshmen, let me just stop there for a minute. IPEDS, that keeps national data on higher education statistics, defines a particular population here, and it's those who are first time coming to a university, they're full-time students, and they're pursuing a baccalaureate degree. So we're not talking those who drop out and come back, 2-year degrees. This is one population, but nevertheless, it's a growing population, and it's one that we're focused on and putting a lot of time and effort into. Only 29% of our first-time, full-time freshmen complete a baccalaureate degree within 6 years of starting. The reason why a young person should complete a college degree is certainly not just for economic reasons. In 2010, the College Board published a report titled Education Pays, and this report outlines additional advantages of a young person completing a college degree. They live longer and enjoy healthier lives on the average. They demonstrate increased civic and community involvement. They tend to get jobs with better health care benefits and pensions. They require fewer social services. They give more hours. Let's maybe move along here. They give more hours in volunteer service. They donate more to local charities. They acquire the communication skills as well as creative and critical thinking skills necessary to perform successfully in the workplace. They have a greater sense of life satisfaction and overall happiness, and they contribute to a safer society with less poverty. There are important reasons why our students, our young people, need to complete a university, a college degree. I was talking with Linda Macon yesterday, and she gave me another, I think, disturbing statistic or interesting statistic. The unemployment rate of young people with a bachelor's degree is 6.8%. Well, the unemployment rate of young people with a high school degree is 24%. That's a huge difference. And we need to do what we can to help our young people go on to a post-secondary institution. I share these data with you simply to emphasize the challenge that we face, to encourage our young people not only to attend, but to stick with it, to stay in school, and to graduate. They will not only be able to provide for their families, but it's important for their own personal growth and development as individuals and as citizens in society. So, what are we doing? What can we do to address this serious problem? In the state of Utah, the Utah system of higher education has come out with what they are calling a 2020 plan. The goal is to have 66% of our Utahns between ages 25 and 64 to have a post-secondary degree by the year 2020. It's a pretty ambitious goal, but it's a worthy goal and something that we can move and work towards. So, what are some strategies that we are going to be using in the state and at UVU? First of all, we want to increase the rate of student participation in higher education. What can we do to reach out to our high school students, to encourage them, to facilitate, to make it easier for them to come and to UVU, but also to any of our sister institutions within the state? What can we do to increase the rate of student retention so that they will stay here and complete their program? And then thirdly, of course, completion rates. We don't have the time this morning to talk about all the initiatives and programs and projects that are currently underway at UVU as well as across the state to address this. But this morning we want to focus specifically on increasing retention and the role that the faculty can play, each of you, in your courses, in interaction with students to help us move in this direction. Under the able leadership of Michelle Kearns, who is our Director of Student Success and Retention, and her staff and many throughout the university, we've been able to increase dramatically our retention rate. Take a look at these numbers just for a minute or two. So back, and we're talking here, retention from fall to fall. Come in the fall, are they here the next fall? 2004, our retention rate was 47%, and now in 2010, our retention rate is 62%. It's a huge increase, and it's a result of some wonderful programs that many of you know about, and Michelle will share a few more thoughts on that in just a little bit later. But that's tremendous growth. We're not there yet. There is still more to be done. If you look at our comparison group, our group of universities of similar size, similar mission, similar budgets, etc., you'll see that they are holding relatively the same at around 70%. And so there is more that can be done, and as we see a young person walk down the hallway or come into our classes, the impact that our programs, your courses, your classes, your teaching has on them will have an impact throughout their lives, not only economically, but for them as individuals. Just as an aside, I was talking to one of my neighbors the other day, and how are his two boys doing? They were both students here, and I know both of them. I said, how's Michael doing? Well, he decided to leave. He wants to go to Alaska to work in the oil fields. Okay, what about Dustin? Well, he also left. He's got a good job. I told them that really you can get good employment without a university degree. That there are a lot of jobs out there. I'm just on pins and needles. I wanted to pull up my slide presentation. Yes, there are good jobs out there, but that seems to me to be the short-sighted, short-term view of why a young person should go on to college. Higher education, I think, is getting a lot of bad press these days across the country. Yes, it's expensive, and that's another issue that we need to work on and can work on. But nevertheless, it's important that our young people go on to university. Well, I'd like to introduce our keynote speaker for today. And again, the reason for sharing this information with you is to emphasize that student retention and student completion is really all of our responsibility. We all can play a role. These aren't just programs to make our lives more difficult, to track down students, to make sure they're attending, or to be involved in early alert programs. We really have lives that we are affecting. And so I just want to again reemphasize that all of us, from our staff to our faculty to our administrators to the custodian, whoever it might be, we all have a responsibility to work with our students to retain them and to help them complete. Okay, we'd like to begin again. Please come in and take your seats. I saw many of you out on our idea fair. We've got some wonderful information materials from across the university. Please take time to stop and talk, there's some good swag there for you to pick up along the way too. I'd like to turn some time over to Michelle Kearns, our Director of Student Success and Retention. She's doing a wonderful job, as we've seen, with her staff. I want to give her a few minutes to, again, bring us up to speed with what we're doing immediately and how you can help us this semester to reach out to our students and to help them be successful. So please, a round of applause for the wonderful Michelle Kearns. Michelle?
Dream last night that I fell on my way up, so that's over and it's all good now. I'd actually like to start with an 8-minute video that we've created and prepared for you in collaboration with our Faculty Connections and Academic Experience Committee. And this is a committee of your peers representing each school and college who help us in developing tools and resources for you as faculty. So would those committee members, both past and present, please stand so your peers know who you are? Jim, Dave. There are more. Thank you. Give them a round of applause. Dr. Brian Waite is our co-chair this year, so if you have any recommendations or suggestions, he's the man to talk to. Will you roll the video?
When I first enrolled at UVU, it was UVSC, and I had all intents and purposes to just finish my general ed and then transfer to a different school, at BYU, maybe out of state, you know, a high reputable university for accounting. So I figured I'd save some money, go to UVSC, get my generals, and then when UVSC transitioned to UVU and really, you know, started pushing at, you know, becoming a better university, and it just really made me think about, okay, do I want to stay? Should I go? And at the point where I was making my decision, I was taking a financial accounting class, and a professor would have us come into his office after we took a test. I know a lot of professors will just kind of go over a test in class, but he felt like that wouldn't really help people because each individual had different questions, and so he'd have you come into his office if you had questions about the test. So I went in, asked him about the questions that I had missed, and after we were done, I was ready to go, and he's just like, so tell me about yourself. What are you planning on doing? What are your career goals? Where do you want to be in 5 years? I just remember being really taken back that this professor was taking time to get to know me as a person rather than just, you know, here's what you missed, do better on the next test.
One of my first semesters here, I believe it was my second semester, I took anatomy, which is a very difficult class. Class was at 8 o'clock in the morning, and then if you didn't understand any of the concepts, because it is a lot of information, a ton of information, he would hold every Tuesday and Thursdays special study groups for 2 hours outside of his normal time that any of his students were welcome to come to. And then you have lab, and lab you have a scheduled time and then an open lab time. And during the open lab time, that's usually from like 7 p.m. to midnight, and he would show up if you needed any help to know like where the certain bone was, or how it fit together with another bone, or how it worked within the body, or anything like that. He would come and help you, even late at night.
I've always been fascinated by professors who remember students' names after a few weeks. It's not everybody's strength. I'm not particularly good with names. Being able to read out a student's name, and that also helps other students to know who other people are in the class. And so when you're having a group discussion, you can remember the other student's name. In that extent, where people's names, identity is being revealed is important, because then it makes the class interaction different, because people appreciate people for who they are or where they're from.
I didn't necessarily just always disclose that I was a first-generation student. I don't necessarily like the idea of favors. But then again, I didn't know what it was like. I didn't know what to expect. So my interest in school radiated off of how the professor was teaching. So the professors that simply put forth an interest, I found that I didn't need to tell them where I was coming from. I didn't need to tell them my background, because they already had it. They already had the interest of dropping to my level and talking to me face to face.
The guidelines presented here are important practices for every faculty member. Because of the continuing good work of so many UVU faculty and staff, we have made tremendous strides in retaining our students. Since the implementation of the Student Success and Retention Initiative in 2006, UVU has increased its fall-to-fall first-year student retention rate by 27%. I want each of you to know that I appreciate your dedication to your students and their success at UVU. I encourage you to continue to seek out and assist those students who may require an additional boost in persisting toward their college goals.
Research tells us that most students leave college for reasons that are generally unrelated to faculty or academic issues. An increasing number of students work full-time while enrolled in college and cite that balancing work and school is simply too stressful. Other students, especially first-generation students, cite an absence of parental or family support, so they lack understanding of the benefits a college education will bring them. Regardless of the reasons a student may choose to leave college, most of which are beyond our control, I am amazed at the level of influence a faculty member can wield in helping a student choose to stay in school, despite any difficult personal circumstances the student may face. As the student testimonials you have just seen show, caring and impassioned teachers have a tremendous opportunity to positively impact our students. I challenge all of you to accept this influential role with the realization that the impact has the potential to extend across generations.
We personally encourage you as professors, teachers, and mentors to develop a faculty culture that enthusiastically supports and participates in all of the retention initiatives mentioned in this presentation. You may never know how these small but important activities might positively change the entire course of a student's college career.
heard some pretty powerful messages today. Thank you. In fact, I love that we quoted Tinto in that even before we knew he was coming, so thank you. We've heard some pretty powerful messages today supporting student success, and success can be defined and measured in many, many ways, but one obvious way is retaining students through graduation. Dr. Wilson shared this slide earlier that shows UVU's retention rates over the last several years. He also pointed out that while UVU's retention rate has increased significantly over the last several years, our peers have remained relatively constant. However, we're still losing too many students. We're on the right slide. As the video highlighted, faculty have the greatest impact on student success. We know that, and so a lot of effort has been put into developing tools and resources to help you in that important role. So I encourage you to use the tools that were mentioned in the video and develop to support you. The first of all is the 3-week project, and this is a list of best practices that we recommend faculty complete in the first 3 weeks of each semester. So you'll receive a flyer in your faculty box next week, and we hope that you'll review that and implement that in your classes. Secondly, Early Alert, as Miranda so perfectly introduced, is an online system that allows you as faculty to identify students who are either struggling academically or who are not attending class regularly. If you can help us identify who those students are, we have retention mentors that will work one-on-one with them to identify resources on campus that might assist them in staying in school. We also recommend that faculty submit midterm grades in UV-Link. And while you may have other forms of feedback, if you'll submit your grades in UV-Link, that information is then available to our retention mentors and also to the academic advisors so we know who to reach out to. Several retention tools with directions for their use are summarized on the retention website at uvu.edu/retention. And also on your table is a brochure that summarizes a number of these tools. For those of you who love data, and I know there are a lot of data junkies out there, we're really pleased to announce the completion of a new retention and graduation dashboard, also available on our website. This dashboard allows you to search graduation and retention data by college, school, major, department. You can also search by demographic, at-risk indicator, or intervention. So have fun. Briefly, I want to tell you about a few important events that are coming up. The first one is Freshman Convocation, and it is designed to be a new tradition here at UVU that'll inspire students to be excited about their academic goals here at UVU and about being a Wolverine. And it will be held on the first day of school, Monday, August 27th at 6 o'clock in the UCCU Center. All new freshmen and their immediate families are invited to attend, so we are planning for a large crowd. In fact, our count last night was almost 3,000 attendees. Similar to a graduation ceremony, Freshman Convocation will begin with a faculty processional, so that means that we need faculty to come. So if you can come, and we really hope that you will make it a priority to do so, please pick up a Freshman Convocation t-shirt out in the foyer today and wear it to the event. When you arrive to Convocation at 5:30, we will provide you with a robe. Dr. Rasmussen has purchased those so that you'll all have a robe that you can pick up when you arrive. And then after the 1-hour program, we'll collect your robes and we invite you to stay for a party with our freshmen, and we are going to have a barbecue and a car show and a live band and fun entertainment. So please come show our students how awesome UVU faculty are. The event dress is casual, wear your t-shirt, we'll provide the robe and the food and the fun. Okay, so Monday, first day of school. I know it's a busy day. Jim Michaelis is freaking out that we're doing this on the first day of school, but come help us out. Freshman Convocation is a common university experience, and we believe the next step in our maturity as a university. And finally, let me tell you a little bit about freshman reading program events that are coming up. The Boy Who Harnessed the Wind was selected as this year's common reading, and Cato was selected as an additional challenge. Our President Holland is hosting book discussions at his home on September 4th and 5th, so we encourage you to join us in those book discussions and bring your students with you. The author of The Wind will be on campus on September 5th. He's a new college student at Dartmouth, and he has an amazing story to share. So please join us for that event. It'll be 1 o'clock right here in the ballroom, September 5th. Finally, consider adding this text or this book to your courses. It's already a required course in our University Student Success class and in some of our English classes. And we've set up a Canvas course with ideas on how you can integrate it into existing curriculum. And please visit with us if you'd like additional details on how to do that. My time is up, but let me end by saying how much I appreciate and admire each of you faculty members. I hear stories from students all the time about the remarkable work that you're doing. And remember, retention happens one student at a time. Choose to retain.
Thanks, Michelle, very much for all your good work. And certainly after our discussion today, I'm sure all of you will be involved in the 3-week report and the early alert and all those other support systems to help our students. It's now my pleasure to turn the remainder of the time over to President Matthew Holland. We're so very fortunate to have a president of his experience and stature and vision and commitment. He's a man who pursues excellence in all that we do with our faculty, with our students, with our facilities. You can see around you, we actually felt some of the growth that we are experiencing in buildings. If you haven't had a chance to see the new science building, for instance, I hope that you will walk through that here in the next 2 or 3 days before all the students arrive. We have a new student health and wellness building that's being constructed and a parking structure. We have planning going for a new classroom building. We've got new programs. We have exciting things happening in the area of development to bring resources in the institution. I just want you to know how much the president is committed to you as faculty. You're not a second thought or an afterthought. He is interested in your welfare and what you do and providing resources and providing an environment in which you have success also in all that you do and your desires and goals. And so please join me in welcoming President Matthew Holland.
Thank you, Ian. I want to thank Ian and his colleagues in academic affairs for all the great work they do. There are days in this job when I think I have a hard job, and then I think about Ian. He has some hard things to do, but he does them well, and he loves his job. And I can echo what he said about me in terms of how he feels about you and his care and commitment to the faculty and your well-being. So we're grateful to him and his team for putting on a great convocation exercise. A round of applause, I think, for... Thank you, Michelle. A great job today. You kind of hit the jackpot, didn't you? I mean, this whole thing is about what you're about, and you've done such a great job. And we're so fortunate to have Dr. Tinto here with us today, and it's been such a pleasant morning with him. At breakfast, he did insist that we call him Vincent. This threw me a little bit because for weeks now, all I've been hearing about is a single-named man, Tinto, said in kind of breathless terms like Bono or Cher or Madonna. Now, he kind of deflated his own bubble there this morning when he told us that Tinto, the original root, means maker of cheap wine. So maybe we'll stick with Vincent. But it's such a delight to have you here. I think you could tell by the engagement of the crowd and that you've captured our imagination, and these are things we care about deeply. We're not paying lip service to them. We do have a mission to reach out to students who are underserved, underprivileged, underprepared in some level. We're trying to do everything we can to help those students, and you've given us wise and concrete advice about how to do that, and we appreciate that, as well as your testimonial for the path we're on with respect to our mission and what we're trying to accomplish. Well, I do wish you a good morning and a hearty welcome back to campus. I hope you all had an enjoyable summer, and I know that I certainly did. In addition to whittling away several of my to-do piles that during the academic year stand somewhere between the Dubai Tower and the loft on Donald Trump's comb-over, I made a most rewarding trip overseas. This was the fulfillment of a decades-long planned and saved-for trip by my parents and siblings and spouses to celebrate my parents' 50th wedding anniversary. As part of these travels and at my own expense, I was able to visit the Bet Lehi site in Israel, where a number of our colleagues and faculty and students in engineering and graphics and design technology are officially partnering with Dr. Oren Gutfeld, the rising star of the archaeology department of the Hebrew University of Jerusalem, to uncover and record the data associated with the third largest archaeological dig sponsored by the State of Israel. With artifacts and inscriptions stretching from 7th century BC to the Byzantine era, it was, on a personal level, utterly engrossing moment of historical and cultural wonder. Yet I must say that it was just as gratifying, if not more so, to listen to Dr. Gutfeld, a quite typical modern Israeli, not given to false praise in the least, go on at length about the truly extraordinary, that's his phrase, not mine, the truly extraordinary work being done by your colleagues using machinery more sophisticated than anything currently existing in Israel, and to digitally capture and analyze all of the physical dimensions of the excavated site to support the tide of scholarship that will come from this site and the continuing flow, speaking of tides, of local, national, and international evidence of the seriousness and quality of UVU's academic pursuits. This was a real summer highlight for me. In any case, the trip was fabulous. It was near flawless, in fact. That was until the very end, when standing innocently with my parents in the Paris airport, ready to head home after this ultimate, never-to-be-duplicated family bonding moment, my father suddenly announced, "When we get home, Matt and I are going on a diet." I thought the comment was more than a little unfair, but I did quickly dispose of the large box of French pastries I was holding at the time. Thank you for laughing. It makes me feel better about the cabinet, who's now heard this story about 17 times. Well, we're here again on the cusp of what for me has become an annual high point of interest and emotion, the start of the academic year. I don't know how it works for you, but for me, there are a powerful mix of feelings that come to me this time each year, a mix I have experienced virtually every year of my life since I was 6 years old. Fortunately, in my adulthood, the balance between anxiety and excitement has decidedly shifted more to the latter than the former. I'm happy to report that long gone are the days when, on the first day of junior high, I was forced by a jeering gaggle of ninth graders to push a penny up a handrail with my nose. And on the first day of high school, I was forced into a locker by two hulking seniors who thought the new kid from up north was dressed just a little too pretty. To paraphrase my favorite female dictator, don't cry for me, Orem, Utah. I did get over these things. As noted, these days I worry a lot less about the inauspicious starts to the school year. Of course, it helps now to be 6'4" and the president. That said, I will confess that for the first week of school, I do have campus security shadowing Rushforth and Abbott. Alternatively, there's Ian's good vibrations going. Alternatively, the start of the school year does fill me with great excitement. Call me an educational nerd, but I get quite a buzz from those first few days of school as the halls fill up with thousands of students teeming with energy, hope, and awestruck wonder, all their own. I sense the promise, as they do, of another year of new intellectual insights, practical discoveries, and personal growth that will be nothing short of life-changing. I eagerly anticipate a year of sterling accomplishment by you, the faculty, in your scholarly and creative pursuits, that will make a difference in your disciplines, in the health and well-being of the community, and the development of those students under your watch and care. And finally, though not exhaustively, I feel the swelling motions of an invigorating resolve and sense of optimism about tackling the challenges associated with helping to lead Utah's most dynamic institution of higher learning. It's in that spirit I wish to begin this morning by giving you an update of my efforts to provide a brief account of priorities past and present, as well as an update of changes in the senior staffing of the institution. After that, I have a few thoughts I wish to share about you, the faculty, and your role here on campus. With respect to cabinet-level changes, you should be aware that in June, I announced that Vice President of University Relations, Val Hale, had accepted a position to be the President of the Utah Valley Chamber of Commerce. This move gives Val a unique chance at further professional development while putting him in a role where he can still do much good for us, forging better ties with and support from the business community for UVU. While it's always hard to see a good colleague go, I'm quite thrilled that we will have a UVU fan of Val's enthusiasm and community connectedness in such an influential position in this valley. His departure obviously leaves a vacancy we are in the process of filling right now, with a pool, the search committee reports, of very strong candidates. You may care to know that with this move, I'm also moving the Office of Economic Development, headed by Steve Roy, out of Administration and Finance and into University Relations. For years, Val Peterson has very effectively shepherded this operation, bringing it to where it is today with the state's #1 small business development center and a bustling new business resource center that is also the envy of the state. And is home now to numerous supports for students, faculty, and community members ready to move ideas into commercial activity. That said, our economic development and business engagement activities have now developed in such a way that a more streamlined point of coordination is required, and the Division of the University Relations is ideally suited to provide just that. One other addition to this portfolio is driven by the recent and seismic shift in federal congressional funding models. As many of you know, Elaine Engelhardt has played a vital role for me in this institution over the past few years as my special assistant for federal relations. In this role, she artfully and very successfully advanced campus priorities in line with opportunities for funding through the earmark processes secured by our federal delegation. With congressional earmarks now a thing of the past for the foreseeable future, the nature of our efforts from the federal government must adapt. To be more specific, most of our former efforts must now move in the direction of more grant writing to the federal agencies, something we are already equipped to do through offices and personnel in both academic affairs and student affairs. What little bit remains then of managing our relations with our federal delegation is better served as an ancillary function of the Vice President of University Relations rather than a major responsibility of a special assistant to the President. Consequently, Elaine will resume full-time responsibilities in her other role as the university's first distinguished professor. While we are at it, I will note here that it is with this shift in Elaine's duties and in response to a long unfulfilled ambition of mine since I've arrived here on campus that I will take this opportunity to team up with Elaine to teach a class. This fall, we will jointly teach an honor section of ethics and values, and I could not be more excited. Would you please take a moment and join me in thanking Val Peterson, Val Hale, and Elaine Engelhardt for these various and tremendous efforts on behalf of the institution. As we move into this new academic year, I wish to highlight a few of my priorities. These priorities are the result of extensive discussions over the past 4 months with my cabinet and other leadership bodies across campus. We approached these discussions with some blue sky questioning and some reflective consideration of those things weighing most heavily on our minds. We also gave thought to our mission and growth and what we need to do to close the gap between what we aspire to be and what we are. After wrestling with these things fairly extensively, each division went through its own priority-setting exercise. I wish we had time for each of the vice presidents and the cabinet officers to share their divisional priorities. We do not. I will take a moment, though, to share mine. Let me be clear, this is not exhaustive. It does not contain all of the things that the university will be focused on this year, or even that I personally will be doing this year. It does, however, reflect deliberate attention to certain areas of collaboratively determined priorities that must be advanced over the coming year. First, while we have made great strides in garnering public support for UVU, I will remain relentless in expanding such support, especially with key new decision makers. This year we have a new Commissioner of Higher Education, new leadership in the Board of Regents, new leadership on the Higher Ed Appropriations Subcommittee, and a host of new legislators who may or may not have heard of UVU's story and its needs. A fair amount of my time this year will thus be spent on the road, soliciting support from old allies and new for three things in particular: additional compensation, a new classroom building, and equity funding. I think you know this past year, compensation was something I fought for vigorously, not only for UVU, but for our higher education colleagues across the system. I wish we could have received more. I'm glad we were successful in getting at least the 1% increase that other state employees were getting, but we were told we would not get. I will continue to keep compensation at the forefront of the conversation regarding higher education funding. We are also fortunate to be the only institution to receive planning money in the amount of $3 million for a very large 250,000 square foot classroom and office building. Such planning is well underway, with lots of input being solicited from academic affairs. But it becomes critical now to secure the balance of the funding, nearly $60 million, to build this badly needed facility. In what looks to be another less than flush year of legislative funding, this will require a full court press of our public officials. We must also keep up the fight for equity, meaning the effort to bring UVU's base funding more in line with our sister institutions. After years of making the case, this last legislative session, we finally convinced a majority of legislators and public higher ed leaders something needed to be done about this. Given the available monies, they made a good faith effort at addressing the issue, but it was, to my mind, just a start. I will continue to press this case. Second, even as we continue to push aggressively for broad public and legislative support, UVU must continue to develop a more robust private fundraising effort to expand critically needed funds for student, faculty, and program support. To that end, I will be devoting at least 20% of my time to development efforts this coming year. In doing so, I hope to amplify previous investments in the development operation under the direction of Vice President Mark Archambault and his fine team that are already starting to pay off. Last year, you may recall, we exceeded an ambitious goal of raising $2 million in new scholarship monies by raising $4 million of new scholarship monies, nearly 20 times we had raised in previous years. Even this year, with so many new and generous donors already pledged to multi-year commitments from last year's campaign, we are on track to raise another $1 million in new scholarship monies. We have also had a major breakthrough in our efforts to address the needs of our student parents. As many have heard, Dr. Susan Madsen has been leading a research project throughout the state to assess the reasons more women are not enrolling in higher education and completing degrees in the state of Utah. One of the primary findings was a lack of affordable and accessible daycare. After seeing this data, we launched a $2 million campaign, roughly, to expand our WeCare facility. 1 month ago, I was pleased to announce a $1 million donation from philanthropist Barbara Barrington Jones towards the building of a new and much more expanded daycare facility. Since that announcement, we have raised another $600,000 from private sources, putting us well on our way to the $2 million mark we need to break ground and provide hope and opportunity to hundreds of more low-income students struggling to complete degrees and gain greater financial stability and independence in the face of demanding child-rearing responsibilities. Parenthetically, I will note that while the State Building Board only gave approval for this project on the condition that the facility would be used primarily by students, we did secure permission to use some portion of it for the child care needs of interested faculty and staff. Proudly, I will note that one of the key triggers for Barbara Barrington Jones and many others to step forward was an elegant and meaningful public luncheon hosted by my wife, Paige, who was very personally anxious to do what she could to help raise the profile of the problem of female participation rates in higher ed. Yes, I have finally unleashed my secret weapon in fundraising. Actually, it was as was the intention, a number of good things came out of that luncheon besides this fundraising success. I would also be remiss if I didn't call a special attention to Associate Vice President of Donor Engagement, Jane Urbaska, who along with many of her colleagues has played a central and effective role in donor event and relationship management key to these successes. Third, we must continue in our effort to delineate and implement our unique educational mission and strategic plan for managing growth. This year, as part of that effort, the university has worked together in marvelous fashion to institute structured enrollment. It has been a nearly all hands-on-deck effort that is, frankly, being watched by many throughout the state. As put by one recent candidate for a position in academic affairs, UVU is way ahead of the rest of the country in sorting through the dilemmas of access and rigor. I should note here that the combination of implementing structured enrollment, earlier admissions deadlines, and an earlier purge of students who did not set up tuition payment by August 15th appears to be contributing to other statewide phenomena that will likely lead to a dip in enrollment this year of somewhere between 2 to 5%. I say other statewide data because for reasons not yet fully understood, most other institutions appear to be basically flat in enrollments this year. While this projection runs somewhat counter to the general assumptions of year-by-year growth built into our 2020 targets, we were expecting a dip this year based on these changes, and we are quite sure that the bubble in our K-12 population will eventually erase this drop. It also must be stressed that our enrollment and admission changes have already helped change both the perception and reality of quality at UVU. From superintendents to business owners and from students to parents, more and more people are recognizing that UVU is not chasing growth for growth's sake, and we are not simply going after tuition dollars. We are innovating to provide a quality university experience and to communicate to our K-12 partners that students need to prepare if they are to be successful at UVU. As Dr. Tinto has said and researched over the years, students do not rise to low expectations. And yet, even with these new enrollment standards, we have remained and will remain a point of great and open access for all interested students. Another component of our unique educational mission that needs to be thought about more carefully in the coming years relates to satellite campuses. As you have all experienced with the new interchange and creative routes in and around campus, the pressure of student traffic is upon us. With the addition of a new classroom and office building, this pressure will get only more challenging. While our master plan shows room for only several more buildings beyond that, it is not entirely clear that the supporting system of roads, walkways, and parking can handle even all of those. Increasingly, we must look to handle our growth by taking UVU out rather than bringing more students in to the Orem campus. The fact of the matter is we are already providing many courses and services at locations at Thanksgiving Point, Spanish Fork, Wasatch Campus, Westlake, the Culinary Arts Building, the Emergency Services Building, and the Aviation Complex. How we might expand our capacities at one or more of these satellite locations must be a key question for us to wrestle with moving forward. At this point, I have no preconceived plans as to what programs and courses and offerings will populate such campuses. The conversation is open, and it must begin. Fourth, to reach our fullest potential, we must begin now to identify some long-term academic excellence projects, laying the groundwork to find and solicit the private funding for such goals. At this point, our biggest fundraising pushes, with the major exception of our effort to support the acquisition and equipping of the Science Building, have primarily addressed our mission relative to inclusive themes, scholarships, daycare, multicultural initiatives. We'll continue to galvanize support for these critical areas and others where students have need, but it is time now to think about the personnel, programmatic, and instrumentation needs we have to move our academic programs forward across the board. Since these things can be very expensive and nearly exhaustive, Proper planning and prioritization up front is as critical as the asking. So this becomes the year to ask for smaller, short-term gifts and plan and prepare for larger, long-term gifts. Fifth, UVU sits in one of the most vibrant high-tech corridors in the nation, second only, I'm told, to Silicon Valley and Palo Alto. This location provides a unique set of collaborative opportunities between UVU and business enterprises. We need to take advantage of the potential for internships, job placements, inventions, funding, sponsorships, and a myriad of other engaged learning opportunities. Nearly 2 years ago, we launched a business engagement strategy born out of discussions with local business community and educational leaders regarding UVU's economic development footprint. I would like to continue to leverage my office to meet with CEOs, especially in tech-related areas, to forge even greater connections for our university that I believe will have long-term impact. Sixth, the key to success of any organization, but especially a large and complex organization like UVU, is its ability to foster strong and effective leadership across the board. Our key vehicle so far for leadership development has been the UV Self program, the Utah Valley Senior Executive Leadership Forum. This program, launched nearly 8 years ago by Vice President of Student Affairs Corey Duckworth, has provided over 100 UVU employees with highly creative and cost-effective opportunities for mentoring, networking, and assessment of personal leadership styles. It's been a marvelous success, and I applaud Corey for his typically creative and thoughtful effort in getting such a program underway. But, like all programs, it must adapt to changing times and circumstances of the institution. This last year, we began making certain adjustments to the program, including shifting the responsibility of the program to joint ownership between my office and Human Resources. In doing so, we hope some of these instituted changes will specifically have a greater reach for and impact on more mid-level and senior executives looking to strengthen their core leadership competencies, as well as faculty looking for chances to further academic administration opportunities. Beyond these general revisions to UV Self, I'm especially concerned about and interested in making progress on what we can do to facilitate leadership preparation for opportunities for underrepresented populations, including women and persons of color who currently need more voice at every level of leadership in the university. You will see in the coming year formal efforts to help address that glaring need. Seventh, I will continue to make every effort I can to get UVU accepted into a regional and more respected athletic conference and do so with our current configuration of teams. Not only would a transition like this improve UVU's exposure, but more importantly, it would benefit our student athletes who currently have to travel extensively across the country to play their games. Such a change would also likely make us part of automatic NCAA tournament bids that have eluded us even in times of demonstrable national success. Of course, I'm referring here to the recent NCAA omission to include our baseball team, even though we had the very best record in the country. Not that I'm bitter or anything. I'm in regular contact with fellow presidents and conference commissioners. Beyond that, I do not have anything more to report. I wish that I did. Finally, in light of continued campus dangers in an ever more volatile and tense world, I would like to continue an emphasis on emergency preparedness. This was on my priority list last year, and while we made some progress, I think there still exists too much room for improvement to let it slip off this year. It's critical that we continue our aim to foster a greater culture of safety and emergency preparedness and response. Along these lines, I'm most pleased to note that just last week, we hired Robin Ebmeyer as our new Emergency Preparedness Director. With 27 years of responsibility in this area for a large multi-facility hospital complex in the IHC system, Robin brings with her a wealth of training, experience, and substantive knowledge that I believe will prove immensely beneficial to our campus and our efforts to keep ourselves and our students out of harm's way. Well, that may be more than any of you wanted to know, but I do feel a sense of accountability to you, to keep you informed and invite your ongoing input on my efforts on your behalf. As always, I remain open to direct messages and messages on up through your various college leaders about where I and the other leaders of the university are trying to spend our best efforts. Let me move now to other matters, namely you, the faculty, your role here at UVU. There are a number of thoughts that have come to my mind lately on this topic, most of which can be categorized under three interconnected points. First, the faculty role is central. I made this point in my very first faculty convocation with the now almost famous Hannah Montana bike simile. For new or forgetful faculty, I'll remind you of that afterwards if you want. To make the point in a slightly different way this morning, let me say this. It is at least conceivable to think of an educational institution without administrators, support staff, and ancillary activities outside of the classroom. It is not conceivable to think of an educational institution without faculty. When a teacher introduces an intelligent book that would not otherwise be considered, when a teacher poses a question or problem that would not otherwise be considered, when a teacher requires a sterling performance that would not otherwise be reached, or when a teacher delights in a field of study that would not otherwise be investigated, that is when education begins. And education is fundamentally what we are about at UVU. Naturally, one need not be a faculty member to be a teacher per se. A message I gave last week at our new annual staff fall forum, where I instructed all of the staff that regardless of their primary responsibility, they too have a role to play in directly encouraging and sustaining a robust student learning environment. Nevertheless, being a teacher is your primary responsibility, and production of student learning and success is the core aspiration of this institution. The role of a faculty member at Utah Valley University is absolutely and centrally critical. I know you know that. I want you to know that I know that, and that I honor you for that. Your efforts, more than any other on campus, including my own, determine the quality and the success of this institution. As your teaching talents, intellectual energies, artistic or entrepreneurial creativities rise and fall, so goes this university. It's just that simple. And so, with no small amount of pride and appreciation, I rise on this occasion to pay tribute to each of you and the countless hours of effort you put into this, your pivotal role here on campus. Second, the role of a faculty member is to help shape and be shaped by our institutional mission. As to the initial point, I'm reminded of the old university saw that the faculty's role is to think for the college, the president's role is to speak for the college, and the dean's role is to keep the faculty from speaking and the president from thinking. I think that's sort of how it works around here. As you know, for the past 2 years, our institution has engaged in a campus-wide conversation regarding the vision, mission, and role of Utah Valley University within our community and the larger landscape of higher ed. An important part of this effort has been to clarify our role in the Utah system of higher education and align our priorities, teaching practices, programming, leadership, and resources to fit this model. As we have proceeded, I hope it has been clear that the faculty play a key and meaningful role in the direction and development of this institution. You may recall this process of mission refinement and articulation first began as a dialogue coming out of faculty convocation. I took the opportunity of my very first session with you to lay out a handful of themes that mostly reflected what I considered a synthesis of numerous ideals and previously developed by the institution. The invited and extensive feedback generated through hundreds of faculty response cards and email exchanges, as well as a series of college-level meetings, brought both substantive change and further refinement that significantly altered and improved the final conclusions, which we now call our core themes and administrative imperatives. These core themes and administrative imperatives then became grist for further discussion across campus. 3 committees consisting of a broad cross-section of faculty, staff, and administration were commissioned to examine the key questions about how to practically address the directions and tensions embedded in these core themes and imperatives. The reports of these committees served as the basis for a white paper that was further vetted with the Faculty Senate and Academic Affairs Council, where important questions and several objections were raised and continue to be worked on in concert with those bodies. Other elements enjoying broader support, including structured enrollment, have moved forward expeditiously. Finally, the University Planning Committee, made up heavily of faculty, was tasked with helping to formulate concrete objectives and indicators to direct and assess the progress in these agreed-upon core themes and administrative imperatives. On your tables, there is a copy of a brochure. Brochure that summarizes the fine work done on this front, minus the lengthy indicators which can be accessed online. I hope you will take a minute to review that document and to use it in your own individual departmental and college planning processes. As noted previously, we must continue to delineate the conceptual framework and implement the concrete actions needed to realize our unique educational mission. As we do so, active and thoughtful voice from the faculty is essential. My ambition, as it has been from the start, is to do this in as collaborative a fashion as possible. I hope that you too will see it as your responsibility to give input, guidance, and support to the visioning process of the institution. And please recognize here that perhaps the best and most lasting way faculty can help give shape to the direction of the institution is not just to respond to the occasional high-level call from me or Ian or your dean. It is to dive in and do more than the bare minimum of university service. Take some individual initiative on a matter in council with your chair or dean. Run for the faculty senate, accept department, college, or university committee assignments, and throw yourself into the work. Now, I'll be the first to admit that one of the more nauseating aspects of academic life is our tendency to work by committee. That was supposed to be funny. Okay. In a world of shared governance and collaborative effort, which I believe in, however, I see no better way. And it is in these organic processes where active and thoughtful faculty can really help mold and improve the institution. Now, even with the core themes brochure before you and dozens of campus conversations and documents about their meaning and implication under our belt, it's still worth asking and trying to answer, what kind of a university are we? How do we fit within the broader landscape of higher education, and how do the answers to those questions have a day-to-day bearing on the nature of the faculty role here at UVU? What follows is hardly an exhaustive and definitive statement about such things. Perhaps it will be useful in addressing some lingering issues. First and foremost, we are a teaching university committed to student success, the core theme that stands as the nucleus of all other core themes and the driving force of our administrative imperatives. Said differently, the ordinal priority we put on student success, by definition, launches teaching to the forefront of our institutional mission. This becomes clear when we take a moment to partially unpack the meaning we have imputed to the concept of student success. As objective number one highlights, student success begins with a commitment to fostering academic achievement. Formal teaching and learning in the credit-bearing courses that stretch and advance our students in all the ways appropriate for an institution bearing the venerable title university. Guiding students to and through a series of courses that provide general education and an appropriate level of technical or disciplinary training is the quintessence of the UVU experience, all of which makes teaching more than first amongst equals in our responsibilities. It simply makes it first. At UVU, this aim is also deeply intertwined with a profound commitment to inclusivity. As the very title and focus of this convocation underscores, and has been so powerfully and articulately conveyed by our inspiring guest speaker, we enthusiastically embrace the challenge of providing open access, fair opportunity, and intelligent support for students from a wide variety of backgrounds and dispositions, and with a wide variety of educational and professional goals. The latter, the determination to continue to provide robust community college offerings in the form of trade, technical, and general education that so many students in our service region need and only need, even as we expand our mature our four-year programs and a smattering of master's degrees that sufficiently address the growing student demands for entrees into graduate school and the most demanding echelons of business, law, education, medicine, and public service, remains at the center of our highly unique and efficient educational mission. A story for another day is how this mission is increasingly attracting the gaze and approbation of other schools and systems who continue down paths that, in an increasingly obvious and painful way, cannot adequately meet the needs of their region. For today, the story is that this unique blend is proving immensely popular with our primary constituents, the students, who are enrolling and staying in record numbers across programs. As a result, teaching becomes primary both out of aspiration and out of necessity. To keep pace with the real demand for educational services tied to our mission, we must teach well and, frankly, teach a lot. In recognition of these considerations and others, state leaders in the legislature and regions have stipulated that UVU must maintain a 12-hour teaching average per semester per faculty. Two things are worth noting here. First, this is a reminder that while faculty must absolutely help shape institutional mission, vision, and values, there are an array of legislators, regents, trustees, advisory board members who all, in different degrees and ways, stand as representatives of the taxpayers who fund this public institution and therefore also have a claim on giving shape and direction to the institution. Second, the 12-hour teaching average forms a considerable part of what we mean by the term teaching university, and this is not something likely to change soon. Candidly, those who are here assuming this requirement will soon change and clear the way for considerably reduced teaching loads in order to pursue individual research are, I'm afraid, mistaken. I do not mean that in any demeaning way. I have been both educated and employed by institutions defined by their willingness to reduce teaching obligations in order to facilitate a prolific research agenda by individual faculty members. There is both power and a great need in this nation for such institutions. So it is with a spirit of genuine and honest respect then that I say if an R1 research institution is the kind of institution you wish to work for, you would be better served moving to such an institution rather than spending a frustrating career here trying to turn UVU into one. Whatever any of us may individually want, there is simply not a need in this state right now, given the mix of student needs and existing institutions, for UVU to become such an institution at this time. To the contrary, there is an immense need for UVU to stay on the path it is on. Here, it should also be noted that the specific way we have chosen to execute this teaching mission is to focus on engaged and experiential learning. Among other things, this means that our academic programs, student support services, facilities, and community outreach should all be oriented to providing a first-rate education for our students that has a clear eye toward practically addressing real-world challenges and preparing our students for professional and civic life. Given the particular theme of our conference today, I will not dwell as much on the implications of this particular core theme. But this does not mean it is not important. Again and again, we hear from students and area employers across the spectrum that UVU's commitment to engaged learning forms a pedagogical strategy, key in stimulating student passion. We had a testimonial of that again today from Dr. Tinto, as well as providing a noticeable competitive edge in terms of industry readiness of our graduates. This is to say nothing of the great and memorable good that has been accomplished around the region, nation, and world by smart, well-trained UVU students carrying out class projects and individual activities that are indeed making a positive and practical difference. I will acknowledge this, though, that questions have been asked as to whether our focus on teaching and teaching through engaged learning is done at the cost of a solid liberal arts education as well as serious academic scholarship. I believe the answer to this is a firm no. As to the first issue of a traditional liberal arts education, all I can say to you is that you have a president who did not exactly devote roughly 8 arduous years of his life training in political philosophy because he saw it as a growth industry. I remain, and I hope the institution remains, committed to fostering what I consider a true university education at the 4- and even the 2-year level. A UVU education can never just be entirely about job training. As part of my journey this summer, I had the chance to visit Prague in the Republic of Czech. Among the many treasures this city holds, there is a wonderful sense of memory and appreciation for Václav Havel, who passed away this year. Havel was a sparkling intellectual and playwright who turned the power of his pen against the moral absurdities of the Soviet Union's rule of Eastern Bloc countries. In doing so, he led what would later become known as the Velvet Revolution, for the peaceful way it dismantled the totalitarian grip of Stalin's heirs in that part of the world. Among the many wise and witty things Havel has written, he said of education in the post-Soviet world, "Schools will have to be humanized, both in the sense that their basic component must be the human personalities of the teachers, creating around them a force field of inspiration and example, and in the sense that technical and other specialized education will be balanced by general education in the humanities. The role of the schools is not just to fill the special needs of different sectors of the national economy, but to develop the individual capabilities of the students in a purposeful way and to send out into life thoughtful people capable of thinking about wider social, historical, and philosophical implications of their specialties." Like so much of what this man wrote, I'm in full agreement. As for scholarship, when it comes to best practices in higher education, we are witnessing a tectonic shift in the way colleges and universities, and most especially state institutions, understand their mission in relation to the communities they serve. Most institutions are placing greater emphasis on assisting their faculty to be outstanding teachers, though not at the exclusion of scholarship. At UVU, given our focus on teaching, it cannot be the case, as it is in many places, that stacks of peer-reviewed research will cover for a weak performance in the classroom. A strong performance in the classroom must be the aim and expectation of every faculty member at this institution. That said, in our commitment to being a serious university, being a great teacher is not enough either. You need to stay active in your disciplines. If for no other reason, this is also key to being a great teacher. Thus, we do look to certain current trends where there is a greater emphasis on integrating teaching and scholarship by involving students in faculty research and other forms of scholarly and creative work. If performed correctly, this integrative model of teaching and learning can be the catalyst that transforms the way in which our students approach their education. Admittedly, some disciplines more naturally lend themselves to experimentation, lab and field work, creative performance, entrepreneurial activity, and community or commercial projects that provide a relatively easy platform for faculty and students to pursue engaged learning opportunities together. Such activities should be encouraged, rewarded, and counted as valid contributions toward the earning of tenure and the advancement of faculty rank. For those disciplines that don't lend themselves as easily to such things, the university is working exceptionally hard to provide tools faculty need to perform at the cutting-edge levels of their profession as teaching scholars. More specifically, we are working with the Faculty Development Committee and others to realign programs to provide the best support for the faculty to engage their disciplines while including the students in practical processes. To reiterate things Ian and I have said before, we encourage you to take advantage of these resources, and we call upon all departments and schools to think about and demonstrate ways in which engaged learning scholarship can best be part of the faculty evaluation process given the particular norms of your discipline. In conclusion, the role of the faculty is to take all of these elements discussed here, teaching, service, scholarship, and do them with a seriousness of purpose that leaves no one, be that students, parents, taxpayers, maybe most of ourselves, that leaves no one in question that we understand the deep civic import and broad human nobility of what we are doing. On this note, let me make a request. I do so carefully, recognizing that I do not see these as widespread problems. But if we are serious about our teaching and about this mission, please do not cancel class without advance warning or supplying a substitute. Please do not fail to give a final exam. Please do not take a university holiday and extend it by canceling class on the back or front end, even if the students cheer you for doing so. Please do not use your asymmetrical relationship of power with the student to exact personal advantage or to marginalize them because they do not share your views, right or left, secular or religious. I stress, I do not think these are widespread problems, but they do exist, and they should not on a campus with our aspirations. Alternatively, it is incumbent upon the UVU faculty member to keep fresh lecture notes, to set course standards high, and then work like mad to help most students succeed, to take on real university service from the start and even more over time as teaching plans and scholarly pipeline develop, and to do scholarly work with a professionalism and thoroughness that makes a practical difference or impresses peers or perhaps ideally does both. And it is crucial that all faculty members, especially those serving as department chairs and RTP committee members, have the courage and conviction to thoroughly assess and hold their colleagues fully accountable for maintaining the high standards of the faculty role here at UVU. To reiterate something I said earlier, I paraphrase that great master of modern American English, in your hands, not mine, my dear UVU colleagues, is the momentous issue of just what kind of institution UVU will be. What you choose to do or not do, what you choose to approve or not approve of, will have far greater impact on the immediate and future destiny of this school than any poor power I have to add or detract. Last week, I addressed the staff and quoted to them the following lines from Martin Luther King Jr., who said, "If a man is called to be a street sweeper, he should sweep streets even as Michelangelo painted, or Beethoven composed music, or Shakespeare wrote poetry. He should sweep streets so well that all the hosts of heaven and earth will pause to say, 'Here lived a great street sweeper who did his job well.'" The theological roots of Martin Luther King Jr.'s sense of calling associated with whatever our chosen form of employment is may be more compelling to some than others in this audience. One need not rely solely upon a religious tradition to get to a very similar place. There is a philosophical tradition as old as Aristotle that excellence is and ought to be the aim of every person in their particular human pursuit. Be your conviction sacred or secular, I hope you will have a conviction that in your role at UVU, you should give your very best. And if you can't find your way to do this in the name of personal integrity or self-satisfaction, I appeal to you to do it for the person that matters the most on this campus. That person is certainly not me, and it is not even you, despite my now hour-long protestations of your central role. That most important person is the student that will walk into your classroom in the next few days. He or she will be coming from any one of a number of situations. Some will be comfortable and complacent. Many will not. They'll be in a difficult situation, a terrible strait, a time of crisis or self-doubt. What will these students have in common when they walk into that classroom? What they will have in common is they will be looking at you. And whether they know it or not at that moment, they will be looking to you to open up to them a world of opportunities and ideas that will transform their life. For their sake, I hope you will give this year and every future year UVU your very best. Thank you very much.
As you can see, we've got a great president. I appreciate his guidance and counsel. I appreciate his vision and leadership, and we're going to have a great year under his direction and support. Each year, our lunch is funded by the UVU Foundation. We very much appreciate their interest in academic affairs, their support, their willingness to be there to help us not only financially, but as a board to give guidance and direction. This year, again, the lunch is indeed funded and supported by them. I've asked Mark Archambault if he would give us a few remarks on behalf of the foundation before we divide for lunch.
I told my wife that I'd be having the opportunity to speak to the faculty this morning, and as she herself is a former faculty member, she said, well, great, I'll spend a little bit of time with you this evening and just give you a few suggestions on how to keep your remarks on track for the faculty. And then I mentioned I'd be following President Holland, and she said, oh, well, in that case, you're on your own. I'm Mark Archambault. I'm the Vice President of Development and Alumni here at the university and the Vice Chair of the UVU Foundation. And I want to take just a minute or two before lunch to tell you a little bit about what the UVU Foundation is and the role it can play with the faculty, and in turn the role that you can play with the foundation. The UVU Foundation is a nonprofit, volunteer-led organization whose sole purpose is to support UVU in achieving its mission. And at the core of that mission, as President Holland has said, is student success. Foundation Board Chair Debbie Bingham, who played a personal role in helping to bring us our amazing new science building, sends her greetings to the faculty and wants to express her deepest appreciation for all that you do for UVU students. Working in collaboration with the Division of Development and Alumni, the Foundation collects all gifts intended for the use of UVU and brings those to UVU annually together with earnings from the proceeds of its carefully managed $50 million endowment to support UVU's scholarships, facilities projects, and programs. Over the past 10 years, the Foundation has collected and provided to UVU more than $130 million in contributions of cash, stock, or property, as well as other gifts in kind, ranging from books offered to the library to an educationally valuable collection of minerals for the College of Science and Health, to significant artworks for the Woodbury Museum. Over the past few years, the Foundation has helped acquire 100 acres of land near the Geneva Road to help us break away from our landlocked status. It's provided funding to UVU's Rheumatic Rescue, a public health program in Samoa run by the College of Science and Health, a great engaged learning opportunity for students. The Foundation has helped sponsor the last campus workshop on autism. The Foundation has endowed a $1 million scholarship for engaged students who wish to participate as ambassadors of the university. We've provided $450,000 to support the We Care project. And thanks to last year's successful scholarship drive, this year there's $1.5 million to be awarded in scholarships, and we have an even higher goal next year. We've even funded a grant proposal submitted by the Carpentry and Architectural Woodworking Department to let them buy a new advanced engraving machine so they can take their courses in new directions. The Foundation sustains an aggressive fundraising effort each year to keep those resources flowing to UVU. Each year, Foundation board members themselves contribute significantly to a presidential fund that allows President Holland to attack a particular priority. Approximately $100,000 is collectively provided by those board members annually, and usually that's just the beginning of their extraordinary generosity. In fact, as I look out at you, I encourage all of you to at least consider participating in this year's annual faculty staff fundraising drive and contribute toward a scholarship in your own college, school, or unit. Sparing even just a few dollars can make a difference between a student being able to pursue their educational dreams at UVU or not. But mostly we hope you can just spare a little time for the alumni and the donors who want to get to know you better, who want to learn about your college and school, and who deeply appreciate the teaching you do with students and the scholarship you pursue. So I'll be stopping by each school and college this year to offer some suggestions and share some ideas of how each of you could be a great partner to the Foundation and how the Foundation can help you. Such successful fundraising efforts require the support of committed partners. So this year, at the urging of President Holland, the UVU Foundation has provided fundraising training to each one of the UVU deans. We brought in a recognized expert at equipping academic leaders to successfully pursue fundraising initiatives, and will continue to provide that training to other academic leaders as the year progresses. We'll collaborate to secure additional funding, as President Holland has indicated, to support both near-term and long-term academic goals. Fortunately, there are a lot of people out there already who want to hear more about UVU, about your academic pursuits, about your successful teaching in the classroom. There are a lot of friends of UVU ready to hear that, and some especially committed. UVU boasts nearly 200,000 alumni. Representing a wide range of career backgrounds and professional achievements, UVU alumni can be an important resource to faculty. And I just want to call this to your attention. Alumni are available to speak in classes and seminars. They're able to provide volunteer support for engaged learning projects, or offer site visits or internships at their businesses or organizations. If those are of interest to you, please get in touch with the Alumni Association. Most of all, our alumni really remember what makes the UVU campus tick. And of course, I'm talking about parking. As a special benefit to the faculty who are automatically invited to be members of the Alumni Association, this year you can actually choose to get a UVU license plate and gain access to premium parking. That may not seem important to those of you who are new, but in 2 weeks you'll be looking for me. In closing, because I see our meal is ready, let me just tell you that all of those who are engaged in providing philanthropic support to UVU and its proud, committed body of faculty, the UVU Foundation Board, the UVU Alumni Association, the Division of Development and Alumni, the Student Alumni Board, the Student Philanthropy Council, and the volunteer UVU Plan Giving Advisory Board all wish to express their deep thanks and appreciation to each of you, to the faculty of UVU for all that you do on a daily basis to focus on student success for thousands of UVU students. I feel truly privileged to have the opportunity to speak to you today and to look at such a large assembly. In fact, it looks a little bit like an army. And because it said an army marches on its stomach, it's time to conclude my remarks and provide just this last small contribution from the UVU Foundation. It's my pleasure to sponsor today's luncheon. I hope you enjoy it. Thank you very much and have a great day.
Thank you, Mark. Following our luncheon, if you turn to page 5 on the program, you'll see a series of workshops, breakout sessions on the second floor here. Please avail yourself of those. Very interesting, informative information that will help you in your classes and working with your students. And also, I hope that you will again visit the idea fair, the tables, and gather information that will be helpful to you. Now, just a little bit of instruction about the food. So there's a table here on the east side of the room that has vegetarian and gluten-free food. So if you would come to the far end and go down both sides of that table. And over here on the west side, there are, looks like 3 tables. And if you would go at the far west side and come down, I think we won't collide with each other. So enjoy your lunch, enjoy the afternoon, have a great semester. Good to see you all back.